Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This week's video is a little makeover on this tall chest of drawers that I found in a charity shop. I've actually found it quite a while ago in a charity shop and it's been in storage ever since and I haven't done anything with it, but now is the time. So as you can see, this piece has got some very lovely wood grain on the front. Now my particular style is not one of stripping and refinishing pieces. That's just not my preferred thing. However, sometimes you do have to be sympathetic to the piece itself. So for that reason, I am going to go down the route of stripping this original finish off to expose the wood grain on the drawer fronts, and then I'm possibly going to paint the carcass. That's the plan for it anyway. As always, this is the plan that I've got in my head. It might not go according to plan, but we can always change the plan if the plan doesn't work, which, you know, has happened in the past and does happen sometimes with vintage furniture. It throws curveballs. You have to have a plan B, sometimes a plan C. So I do think, although, you know, I would actually love to paint over this wood grain because it just isn't my thing. What I do have to bear in mind is that I want to sell all my furniture because, you know, that's my job. So to give it the best chance of selling, I think it would be sympathetic to the piece and, like I say, give it the best chance of selling if I do strip that wood grain off, strip the original finish off, refinish the drawers to emphasise the original, you know, features of the wood grain, and then paint the rest in a nice kind of simple finish. So let's get started. The first thing I need to do before anything else is take the handles off. So these handles are very kind of typical of this era, and I'm gonna keep them. I'm gonna leave the original handles intact and put them back on when it's finished. But on the back, you get these kind of domes on the back of the handles. So you need to pop those off with a flat-headed screwdriver, which sometimes is easier said than done. And then what you get is a bolt and nut situation that you have to undo. This is probably going to take me the best part of an hour, and I'm not even exaggerating because these are very fiddly and annoying to remove and there's quite a lot of drawers. So I'll be right back. What makes these particularly bad is that the nut was recessed into the wood, so I had to kind of scrape some of the wood out in order to remove it. So I ended up making a little bit of a mess and it was indeed very time consuming. 2 down, 8 to go. We could be here some time. And every time, although these drawers are graduated, which means they start off small and go slightly larger as they go down, I'm still going to get my chalk and write the numbers of the drawers on the back. So this is number 1 and I'll go down to number 2, 3, 4, 5, just in case they happen to get mixed up, which I don't think they will because they're all different sizes, but you can never be too sure. The joy of a video is the fact that I can edit all of that out. So it took me absolutely ages to take all of those handles off. They were a right pain, and spoiler alert, I did actually change my mind and I'm not going to reuse them in the end anyway. So the next thing I did is prep the piece ready to paint. What I'm doing now is cleaning it with Dixie Belle's White Lightning, and the veneer on the top of the piece was in not the best condition, had some scratches in it, some cracks, some chips, so I'm filling that with wood filler now. And then once that was dry, I just primed this with Dixie Belle's Bonding Boss. The finish on this was pretty robust to get a decent kind of scuff sand on it, so I'm using Bonding Boss, and this primer is going to stop stains and also provide adhesion. So the next thing for me to do is to strip the varnish off these drawer fronts. I've got to be super careful because they are veneered. All veneer is just a thin piece of wood glued over the top of a usually cheaper framework. So I've got to be careful. You can quite easily sand through veneer, which is obviously something I don't want to do. So for that reason, I'm using Chemical Stripper. This is a new brand. I've never tried it before. It's called Home Strip Paint and Varnish Remover. I'll link it below as always. So I'm going to give this a go, and this says that it uses science, not solvents. I'd only use a chemical stripper if I am retaining wood grain detail for any reason. Usually I'm painting over wood grain, but in this instance I want to keep it as a feature, so for that reason I'm going to use this. Also, again, I've got to be super careful, don't want to sand it because it's not solid wood. It's not a piece of pine that I can, you know, sand at quite aggressively. It's got that thin layer of veneer which is very easily sanded through. So all the instructions are on the side of this. I've only ordered a little small tub to try this time, but it's got pH neutral, no discoloration, pleasant to use and effective, indoor and outdoor use. It's got all the instructions on the back. It says I only need to leave this for varnish, shellac and French polish 15 to 30 minutes, and usually one application is required. So let's give it a go. What I meant to say is this product is a new product for me. It's not a new product on the market. It's been around for a while. I've seen a lot of people use it with great success. And the fact that it's eco-friendly is good for me because I do all my work inside. The weather in the UK is far too unpredictable to take this outside. There's no nasty smell. It actually smells very pleasant. And I'm just applying this the same that I would with other stripper, so fairly liberally with a chip brush. And just whacking it on. So that's been on the drawer fronts about half an hour-ish. I'm going to attempt to scrape it off now. As I mentioned, this will be linked in the description below. However, I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe that this is only available in the UK. This is a UK product, UK company. So apologies to my US followers. So that came off. An absolute charm. And to get any sticky residue off, although it's not even that sticky, it's not like other strippers that I've used that leave a really horrible kind of sticky, tacky residue. It's not, it's more like a gel. But to get that residue off, I'm going to use Scrubby Soap because I've tried this method before using this product to get rid of stripper residue, and it works super well. So this is a soap infused with a scrubber. Whoa, nearly on the floor then. I use these every single day to wash my paintbrushes. They're fantastic. They're made with natural essential oils, so they smell amazing, and they just work super well because the scrubber isn't too harsh, so you know you're not going to damage the wood by using it for this purpose. And the essential oils break down any stripper residue and just leave your finish nice and clean. So I'm just dunking this in some warm water first to lather it up, and then I'm just going to rub it directly onto the drawer front. So this scrubber obviously is not harsh enough to cause any damage to the wood, but it is just going to help me scrub off any residue left over from the chemical stripper. And as always, I will pop a link of all the products used in this project in the description below. They are affiliate links, which means if you purchase from them, I earn a small commission, but it won't cost you a penny more. I just rubbed any kind of moisture away with a rag, so I didn't want too much moisture sitting on there. Left them to dry, and then when the drawer fronts were completely dry, you could either do a second pass with the stripper if there's any residue left over, any varnish or anything like that you haven't quite got with the first pass, or you can just give them a light sand. I'm just using a 220 grit sanding sponge here because, again, don't want to go through the veneer, don't want anything too harsh or aggressive, so I'm just using a very light hand and a sanding sponge. And then the next thing I'm going to do is give them a good clean with Dixie Belle's White Lightning Cleaner, because I didn't want any soap residue left over. So this is going to cut through anything left over on the drawer fronts and make sure they're nice and clean. So the primer's been dried 24 hours, which means it's ready to paint. I'm choosing this colour, which is Deep Sea from the Silk Mineral Paint range, very classy, and I think it's going to contrast quite nicely against the warm toned drawer fronts. And every time I use silk, people always ask me how I get a smooth finish. Well, there's a couple of things. A primer helps, because a primer obviously gives you a nice kind of smooth canvas to paint on. There's no kind of dry wood or imperfections, because a primer obviously, you know, gets rid of all of that and gives you, like I say, a nice kind of smooth canvas to paint on. So a primer can help. If you don't want to use a primer, you don't have to. This paint has a built-in stain blocking primer, so you don't need to use a primer with it. I just find that it does go on very smoothly over the top of Bond Emboss. Also, a good brush helps. This is Dixie Belle's one of Dixie Belle's synthetic brushes. You can get these in all shapes and sizes. This is an oval small, you can get them in flat, you can get slightly larger ones. There's an oval medium, which is the same kind of thing but bigger. These brushes are handmade, they are very soft, they are investment brushes, but providing you look after them, they will last a long time. And these brushes, for me, are what gives such a flawless finish. You can roller with silk, you can use a roller, you can also spray it, but I don't really do either of those things. I just love using a brush. There's something about it that's super satisfying. And I also find that ever so slightly misting the bristles before you start using it helps. You don't want it dripping wet, you don't really want to add too much water to silk, so that can help. And then when you lay off your paint, so you apply your paint on and then lay it off in one direction, that can also help with the kind of smoothness and evenness of the paint, because all of your brush strokes are going in one direction, which means the light is going to be hitting it in the same kind of way. It's not kind of, you haven't got lots of brush marks that are gonna hit the light in all different directions and therefore make it look kind of patchy or streaky or give you brush marks visibility. So those things help. Nice, long, kind of, I mean, I won't do this to start off with because I'm a pretty fast kind of heavy-handed painter, I suppose, but when you do your finishing coat, which I'm guessing is only going to take 2 coats with this, just make sure you do nice, long, even, smooth strokes, because that obviously is going to give you that kind of evenness and smoothness. And that's about it, really. It is a very nice paint to work with. Silk by name, silk by nature. It goes on very smooth. It's very nice to work with, and like I say, it has that built-in stain blocking primer. It also has a built-in top coat, so once this is painted, I don't need to top coat it, which is a relief because I don't like doing it. So I'll demonstrate what I mean by applying my paint. So I'm just whacking this on. Obviously, I am trying to kind of keep it fairly in one direction and fairly kind of long, smooth strokes. So I'm working in small areas so that my paint doesn't dry. So before I move to the next area, what I'm going to do is slow the video down, and I'm just going to adjust the pressure on my brush. So I'm not pressing on at all with my brush, just really lightly smoothing that paint out so all of the strokes are in the same direction. This also promotes the paint to lie smooth because it is a self-leveling paint. So for the drawer fronts, they have a couple of imperfections. They're not perfect, but that's okay. We can try and disguise it with a wood stain. Obviously they're pretty dried out. The wood is obviously exposed, it's raw. So the first thing I'm going to do is put on a wood conditioner. And it literally is exactly that. It conditions the wood and stops it being so dried out, so that when you apply your stain, it goes on more evenly, and also it doesn't grab onto the wood, because I don't want to cover the wood grain up. That would be pointless. But I just want to give it a little tint to try and see if I can cover those imperfections up. So this is going to go on first. This is an oil-based product. As you can see, it's like a soft kind of wax. And I'm just going to put a little bit on. It's very soft, so you don't need a lot at all. I'm just going to put a little bit on a rag and then just rub it into the surface. You don't want to put too much on. You don't want to actually saturate this. This is just going to, like I say, help the wood grain, help the wood stain go on nice and evenly, and also stop it from grabbing onto this really, really dried out wood, so that it's going to be a super opaque finish, because I don't want that. I just want it a little bit darker just to cover the imperfections. So you can see the difference between these two. That is the one that hasn't had wood conditioner on, and that is the one that has had the wood conditioner on. The wood stain I'm going to use is No Paint Gel Stain, which is an oil-based stain in the colour Golden Ash. Now this isn't too dark, and it's got a nice kind of ashy undertone, as the name might suggest. So it's going to hopefully just eliminate a little bit of the redness in this wood, although I don't mind it because, you know, that is just the tone of the wood. But the other thing it's going to do is hopefully, so this is the drawer with a couple of imperfections on. Yeah, it's just there. So hopefully this is going to disguise that. It's also going to knock this trim bit down around the edge. I haven't decided if I'm going to put a little bit of gold gilding wax on this yet, but if I don't, then it's just going to kind of help it disguise with the drawer front a little bit better than what it currently is. I'm just going to take some on a rag and rub it into the wood grain, and obviously because I've put that wood conditioner down first, it's just going to lightly tint the wood grain. It's not going to kind of be too heavy in coverage. Also, this is obviously not the darkest wood shade, wood stain there is. There's lots of different wood colours in the range. But you can also use this without the wood conditioner. You don't have to use the wood conditioner with it. It's just that I didn't want to go too kind of strong and cover up all the wood grain. But if you did want to use it on its own, you absolutely can as well. You remember how at the start of the video I said I wanted to retain the original handles? Well, I changed my mind. They were not in very good condition, especially by the time I had finished prizing them off the piece. So I've got these. I think they will be quite in keeping. I actually like these better. I like the look of them better anyway, the style. So we've had to, late last night, I say we, I mean Andy, because hinges and hardware, I lose my mind over. So Andy's got way more patience than me in that department. So when he came home last night, he did it. I didn't get any of it on camera because it was kind of a on the whim kind of thing we did. So he's re-drilled the holes so that they just cover the old holes. So obviously if you've got old holes that need filling and you want to retain the wood grain, you can do it. You obviously have to match the wood grain with paint, like a paint effect or a wood stain or something. But the reason I've got these specific handles is because they're quite small and they do just cover the old holes without me having to patch them up and obviously make it look like wood grain. Because it can be done, but it's just time consuming and I want to get these done. So on the reverse you can see there's obviously now several holes, and although we've sorted the front, the back is not the best looking. Obviously the original holes is where I kind of had to gouge out the original fittings on the back, so I'm going to fill those with wood filler and then I'm going to sand it and I'll paint the drawer interiors, and obviously that way it will disguise the fact that I had to dig out the old fixings. Whilst the drawer interiors are drying, because I'm itching to paint them and get this thing done, I'm going to treat the inside of this piece because it's all constructed from wood. The drawer runners are wood, and it's just a little bit kind of dried out. So this is what I use. It's Big Mamas Butta. It's a nourishing, soft, balmy wax. It's an oil-based product. It's got really good ingredients in it for nourishing wood grain, and I'm going to apply it with this natural bristle brush. You don't need a lot, you don't need to slather this on. A little bit goes a long way, and I just put a little bit on my brush and then just go along the drawer runners and all the drawer sides. I had to cut my volume off there because my kids came in and made an enormous amount of noise. So I've cut the volume off because, yeah, it's 6 weeks holiday. They're at home. It's just a little bit crazy. So once the wood filler was dry on the inside of the drawers, I put some Bond Emboss primer down on the inside because there's absolutely no way I'm sanding every single drawer inner. No thank you. 2 coats of this, left it 24 hours, and then we moved on to painting. I'm going to go for another kind of bluey green because I just felt like this made the drawer inners pop. So this colour is called Mirage. Mirage sounded very posh, but it's a really gorgeous shade, and this again is from the Silk Mineral Paint range, so no need to top coat there either because again, no thank you. And then for the edges of the drawers, the lips, They kind of were not looking the best, and if you put paint here, what you can do is interfere with the drawers opening and closing smoothly. So I use gold gilding wax, which takes up less room than paint. It doesn't jam, and you just apply it on with a finger or brush and then buff it off like you do all other wax products. I should say that about Big Mamas Butta as well. Did buff that off the inside of the piece. And then I also added a little bit of gold gilding wax around the edges of the drawers, just around that beading, as you can see here in the close-ups. So yeah, a little bit of a different project, but hope you enjoyed it, and here's the finished piece. So a slightly more refined piece than what I'm used to here at Faff Designs. Nevertheless, hope you enjoyed it, hope you enjoyed the video. Don't worry for those of you that like something a little bit more wacky and adventurous. Next week's video will be just that, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss it.